moving towards Goffstown. A lot of woods in this area. So if there were to be a tornado, we'll flip over to what we call the correlation coefficient. And I don't see, this is a measure, we call this a debris tracker. What this is a measure of things in the atmosphere that are either correlated, that are the same, or they're dissimilar. They're not alike. What we see is where the core of that storm is, just to the south of New Boston, we have a lot of things in the air that are the same, perhaps raindrops. We don't see things that are being lofted into the atmosphere. All this being said, that's good news. That's a sign that maybe this is a rotation that's aloft and not at the ground. So we use this debris tracker, this correlation coefficient, as sort of a double check or a triple check or a confirmation in some ways. We still want to respect that polygon, still some tight rotation in some areas, still concerning. I mean, this could be straight line winds, still a really good kind of signature of something happening at the ground, whether it's rotating or whether it's straight line winds. So we want to make sure friends in New Boston, in Goffstown, Hillsborough County, New Hampshire, you're staying safe.
Jacob, I do have an update for
Alyssa
you.
has an update for us. Alyssa, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so looking back at the cell we were looking at near Hartford County, and actually they were trying to talk between, hey, do we keep this a severe thunderstorm warning or do we go ahead and add the tornado warning to this as well? I think we may have just gotten our answer in extending the severe thunderstorm warning. However, this is something we definitely want to watch closely because what they're going to be looking at and what we'll be monitoring here is if this low-level rotation can intensify at all. Because right now on velocity, as Jacob's showing you right now, we can see some signs of rotation currently. And we're just thinking right now it might not be strong enough or organized enough to go ahead and warn it with the tornado tag. So right now we're going to keep that as a severe thunderstorm warning near Hartford.
And so the reason, Alyssa, that we're kind of bouncing around between New Hampshire and Connecticut is at the moment, Massachusetts really doesn't have any storms that we are in, but our neighbors to the north and south do. This is a storm, the Hartford County storm, that if this were to hold true, could stay together and move into parts, if it tracks right along Interstate 84, could move into southern Worcester County, Sturbridge, Charlton. We've got a ways to go for that to actually happen, but it is something we are watching for with that storm to our south in Connecticut, along the Connecticut River Valley. Now, the good news that we talked about this morning, Alyssa talked about last night, is as these storms do progress from the west to the east, the ingredients that they will tap into are going to tend to kind of fizzle out a little bit. The storms are going to bump into the marine layer, and so we're not going to see them perhaps holding steady the closer to Boston, the closer to the seacoast that they get. Still concerned about that storm that is up to our north in Hillsborough County. It is about to, Alyssa, if you could continue to watch Gray Main's chat, I'm interested to see what they'll say about extending this. The signature on this is still not something that I want to see. This is still a nasty looking signature. This is now moved east of New Boston. There is the couplet that we would be watching for. This looks like it's going to be tracking south of Goffstown. I want you to still be safe. And eventually, obviously a very busy spot, I'm going to zoom out and show you, this is going to be moving eventually through a really busy corridor in the interstates. So let me zoom out and show you here.
While you do that, something I'd say that looks promising, at least given that this does look like a pretty good velocity scan right here and a pretty tight couplet. The storm to the north of that we were looking at and did have a severe thunderstorm warning with it. They did decide to cancel that. They did not extend that. Now that could repulse again, as we've seen what the history of some of these storms certainly doing throughout the day and throughout the afternoon. So that is going to be another concern, that once some of these warnings start to fall off, that we're going to be seeing more behind them pretty quickly, as we've already seen so far. But right now, the storm to the north of that has expired, at least the severe warning attached to it.
That's great news. That is definitely great news. All right, so this is that storm in Hillsborough County. Still concerning look, whether it's straight line winds or rotational winds, tornado. There is tightening of that couplet. The deeper, the brighter the shade of pink and the brighter the shade of green it is, the more concerning it is, as it's basically inbound winds versus outbound winds. That's where you would get sort of the rotation right about there. And so if this were to hold together, 293 Manchester, on the north side of Manchester, I've got to think that the National Weather Service out of Gray is making a decision as we speak as to if they're going to hold this together, and it would not surprise me if they do extend this. So what I want you to do, if you are in Manchester, let's go ahead and respect the time that is given to us at the moment. If you are in Manchester along 293, 93, and Route 3, let's take the 10 minutes that's been afforded to us and let's go ahead and just head to our tornado safe place. Tornado warning at the moment has not been issued, but I would rather be safe than sorry. This is some really, really breezy winds, whether it's a tornado or not. Moving towards Manchester, I'll draw a tornado track on this and let's see kind of what we're dealing with. Again, this storm is moving 40 to 50 miles per hour. So you're talking Manchester in the next 10 minutes or so, and then eventually towards Auburn, New Hampshire, by the time we get to about 6:05, 6:06. So let's again give the time afforded to us, take advantage of it. Head to our tornado safe place. We mentioned it earlier, but our tornado safe places are the lowest level of our home. Usually that's a basement, but if you don't have a basement, find an interior closet or a bathroom. Try to put as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. So in the event that if a tornado were to hit your home, you try to avoid any sort of damage from the outside. If you live in an apartment building, try to make friends with your neighbors downstairs. The higher you are, I want you to get the lowest possible you can. So mountain base. The storm is upon you at the moment. So please, if you are just now tuning in, please get to your tornado safe place. I am going to flip back over and just see if our correlation coefficient has picked anything up. And we're going to go back in time a little bit, a little time travel backwards. And I do not see anything that is concerning, which is great news. There's that tornado warning. As I mentioned, I expected that to be extended towards Manchester, and the Gray, Maine National Weather Service has extended that. So now, Hillsborough County, Merrimack County, and Rockingham counties, you now have that tornado warning in effect until 6:15. If you can confirm that with me, it's 6:15, Alyssa. But Manchester, you are in the mix of this. So now, 6:15, okay. We now definitely want you to be in that safe place. Again, let's draw a track on this. So in Manchester, in the next 10 minutes or so, Auburn at 6:07, and then Candia by 6:15. I also want to hop to our south. Tornado warning was just issued, or will be issued. Yep, there it is right there, that Hartford County cell. So let's zoom into that and show you that one. This is a storm. This is a storm that has shown some signs of pulsing as well. So we'll zoom in and see what we're working with. The good news is the track of this storm perhaps is taking it away or parallel, if you will, to the Massachusetts border. Let's see what we're seeing here. Yep, that's definitely a tornado couplet right there. This is now Connecticut, so want to reorient everyone. Connecticut, there's Route 44 in Connecticut. There's East Hartford, Route 91 north and south connecting Springfield to New Haven. You have Interstate 84 connecting Vernon, Connecticut to Hartford, eventually to Southington. So this is moving right through the heart of Connecticut. And at the moment, the tornado warning is almost due east. So this is moving due east. It would take a little while to get to us in this case, because it'd have to go through Rhode Island first. So we do have that tornado warning in Connecticut. I'm going to now hop back up to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is our viewing area, and we have Manchester, a pretty big population under that tornado warning at the moment. Let's zoom in and see where this is at the moment. So just to the south of Route 114, there is the core of the storm about to cross from Hillsborough County into the Manchester area. This is a storm that is flying along. The latest, let's see here. The latest is this is moving at 45 miles per hour. Radar indicated rotation. This is going to be at Manchester by between 5:55 and 6 o'clock. Also going to be moving towards Chester, Auburn, Allenstown, Deerfield, and Sandown. Alyssa, are you monitoring, Chad? Anything that you're seeing?
Actually, so it's so great to be partnered with these National Weather Service offices, because what we're doing right now and what I'm doing while Jacob is monitoring radar, I'm in the chat with the National Weather Service, so we can, in real time, as that office is working to get some of these warnings out. And as Jacob and I were talking about, we thought, okay, this velocity couplet looked very tight. It still continues to be that way. Luckily, on correlation coefficient or the debris tracker, it doesn't look like we've seen too concerning of scans with that. Really, our main concern is going to be that rotation. And I was able to, in live in chat, we can just kind of talk to the office and ask, hey, do we think this is going to be extended? And of course, they did extend it. So it's really neat to work with these other meteorologists at the weather forecasting offices. So we're really getting you the fastest information we possibly can. And we're also looking at that storm to the south as the Hartford storm that did get warned with the tornado possible. We are seeing that velocity really starting to tighten up in the low levels. And Jacob, you'd mentioned earlier with the way that we can see these storms, it gets a little tricky in the center of some of these because the radars might be farther away. So looking at this storm right here, we're really looking about 5,000 to 7,000 feet high. Yeah,
so especially when you get into Hartford, this is sort of the middle zone, if you will, a Venn diagram, the middle of the Venn diagram of three different radar locations. You have Albany, you have Boston, and you have Long Island. So this is pointing into the middle. So we have a bit of a mess going on, but this is a storm. If you were tuning in about an hour ago and you saw that amazing playoff, Scotty Scheffler and Kim there, Scotty Scheffler pulling it out, this is where that tornado is now headed. So hopefully they were able to present that trophy and get everyone out of there. Yesterday we had a couple weather-related injuries with a couple spectators hit by lightning. Of course, if you see lightning, if you hear thunder, always bring it inside. But this is a tornado-warned storm moving through West Hartford, Connecticut at the moment, moving towards Hartford. I'm going to focus on Manchester. Those are our friends to the north, Manchester, New Hampshire. And this is a storm that has definitely strengthened in the last half hour or so. We joined you just about 5:30, and this tornado warning goes until at least 6:15. Still some concerning signs on our velocity scans. So what we're seeing with these velocity scans, basically we send that radar beam out. The radar is able to interpret which direction the winds are going, and we have winds going away from the radar beam and going towards the radar beam. So we would say the couplet would be somewhere right about there. So if you are in Manchester, if you're in Hooksett, forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but if you're along Interstate 293, Interstate 93, if you're along Route 3, if you're anywhere near there in the Manchester area, you need to be in your tornado safe place. So included in this tornado warning, Interstate 293 between mile markers 1 and 11, Interstate 93 between mile markers 19 and 28. So if your loved one is about to take a ride north or south along 93, give them a buzz. They may not know what they're driving into at the moment. And that latest scan that came in, just to the north of Bedford, New Hampshire here, kind of watching this area here. A lot of bright colors showing me that there are some winds outbound and inbound. So this is where we would be watching for that potential tornado. Again, almost moving right towards Manchester. And so we have a big population center. Of course, we don't want you to go outside and look for this tornado, but let us know what you're seeing, hearing after this storm passes through. Hopefully, this is just wind shooting above in the clouds, the radar beam shooting into the clouds. But the concern is this is a storm that has pulsed a little bit. So looking at some of the lightning involved, I mean, it's a mess of all the lightning here. Alyssa, I'm going to draw a tracker on this. If you could just check in on that storm to the south and just see what they're seeing, the National Weather Service Boston, if they're continuing that storm.
On the Hartford storm?
Yeah. So while I do this real quick, Manchester, the storm is moving into your neighborhoods over the next 5 minutes. So please be in that tornado safe place. We also have Auburn in the next 10 minutes, Candia by 6:15 or so. And we'd rather you do that now and then I or Alyssa will release you from that tornado safe place versus waiting to the last minute and then the tornado happens upon you too quickly. So let's give the time afforded to us, take advantage of that. And Alyssa, anything new on that Connecticut storm?
So right now, it looks like we're going to continue on with the tornado warning for that storm to the south in Connecticut and Hartford. So originally, it was warned for a severe thunderstorm. We had those winds over 60 miles per hour, hail about an inch in diameter. And so what we're looking at is in the lower levels, as low as we can really look, because it's a little tricky in this location, but we're trying to see if there was some lower level rotation that we could spot. And it did look like we got there. We got enough to get that tornado warning in effect. And this is going to still be in continuance for the next half hour. So we still have this for the next half hour. It's moving east at 40 miles per hour. It's actually warned technically until 6:30 p.m. So we are going to still monitor this very closely, because what we're seeing mainly with both of these storms actually that have the tornado warnings, so these severe storms capable of producing a tornado. And what we're seeing with those, both of them, is some tight coupling, some rotation in the lower levels, at least some signs of that. Now, the good news, as far as good news goes in these type of events, is every time we check in on the debris tracker, it does not look like we're seeing scans that would be giving us that TDS, that tornadic debris signature. So we're not seeing that right now. The main concern I'm seeing, and at least what it looks like these are being warned for, is the tighter rotation in the lower levels. And so that's why it's important that if you are in the path of these storms, still warned for the next half hour plus, you really want to get to that safe space and do that quickly, because these storms are moving very, very quickly. The one in Hartford right now actually is moving at east at 40 miles per hour, Jacob.
Alyssa, appreciate that update. Continue to watch that storm for us. It looks like it's moving from the west to the east, so hopefully it avoids parts of Massachusetts. It'd have to get through to Rhode Island first. But I just wanted to give you an example of how long we've been watching this storm for that is moving into Manchester at the moment. This has been showing some signs of rotation for the last 37 miles or so. Now, that's not to say it's a tornado on the ground for 37 miles, but it's shown signs of some rotation for the last 37 miles. And it looks like, I'm going to hop back into the velocity scans here, and let's see. It looks like it's still a pretty nasty couplet. Moving into Manchester as we speak. So I'm going to zoom in as close as we can without getting a mess and really kind of show you some of the areas that are being impacted here. All right, so moving into Manchester as we speak, there's Route 28, 28A, Route 101 and 93. This is the couplet we'll watch for, about to move over to 93. In fact, the latest update has this moving right over top of Route 3 and 293. So this is racing along, moving at 40 to 50 miles per hour. This is a storm that has shown signs of rotation, and it continues to show, at the very least, some gusty wind, some damaging wind, if not some rotating wind too. So this is moving through Manchester as we speak. The National Weather Service doing a good job. It looks like they have dropped the tornado warning for Hillsborough County, but it remains in effect for Merrimack and Rockingham counties. So they're doing a good job of trimming back the areas that are being impacted, and they're actively kind of releasing people from their tornado safe place. So again, I'm going to zoom out here and just show you the areas that we're dealing with. This is southern New Hampshire. This is, so we're starting to get closer to Gray Main. Alyssa said it, I have said it. These are storms that are really tough to see on radar. You've got Gray Main, which is way up there, trying to shoot through some of the southern parts of the White Mountains. You have the Taunton-Norton radar way down in basically south of Boston, trying to shoot up towards this storm. They're currently using the Boston radar, the Norton radar, to see into this storm, because once we get a little bit further to the north, you see that it loses a lot of its characteristics. We're not able to see into it the same way. So this is a storm that has shown signs of rotation. We want to respect that polygon. We want you to be in that tornado safe place. I'm going to draw a path on this and show you where we are looking. So Auburn in the next 6 minutes or so. And eventually this is going to cross into Raymond too by the time we get in 20 minutes or so. This is a storm that has exhibited signs of rotation and continues to have that tornado warning in effect until we get into about 6:15 or so. This is, I'm just going to pull up what Gray Main is saying. Looks like we may have, we certainly have some lowering in the clouds. Seeing a doorbell camera, we'll see if we can flip this. This was in West Manchester, facing north, and there's definitely a wall cloud associated with this. And so I think that the National Weather Service out of Gray, Maine is doing the right thing in issuing this tornado warning, regardless of how high the beam is in the sky. Alyssa, you seeing anything?
Well, you know, you made a good point with them dropping the warnings off, and we saw that severe thunderstorm warning that was near the tornado warning that you're looking at has expired, so that is good news. We like to see when warnings drop off, but keeping in mind that we could get more behind these. But for right now, when we think about tornado warnings, and some of the most asked questions we get is, you know, am I out? Am I out? Am I out of the way? And so we just want to remind you, if the storms that we were looking at, Goffstown, we called out a couple of bakeries in the parks. You were in the clear in Goffstown. Lindenborough, you were also in the clear. Mount Vernon, you were in the clear as well. Litchfield, you were also in the clear. So these were areas that we hope that you were able to take cover ahead of that storm, and these areas are now in the clear, at least for right now, because it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer you've got until some storms behind this really start to pulse up, because it looks like the next little line of storms here is just now entering into central Vermont.
All right, so let's do a wider view just to get our bearings straight, if you will. We do have some thunderstorms right now moving through the Connecticut River Valley. This is what it looks like outside at the moment. We still have the dreariness. Say that again, Dan? All right, so this is pointing north. You see the gray skies, not much visibility. We've had the murkiness, the heaviness in the air with the increased humidities. It's been a really humid day. It's really been a hot day too. I'm going to focus real quick just on what's happening in parts of Hampshire County, Massachusetts. This is an area that obviously, if they were to warn on, would potentially include Worcester County. So we'll zoom into them and let's see what they are dealing with at the moment. So I saw a few flashes of lightning there. Let's just take a quick status update. They are also, they're in a place that's a little funky when it comes to seeing the radar. We'll watch that closely, but at the moment, not a ton of lightning, which is a good sign. Lightning, some of my research early on in my career was based on the amount of in-cloud lightning correlating to a tornado strengthening or potentially even dropping to the ground. It's good news that we don't have a lot of lightning showing up in this storm near Amherst, near the Quabbin. I'm going to hop back up to Manchester. Our friends up in Manchester still under that tornado warned storm until at least 6:15. This is a storm that has been rotating for at least 40 miles. That's not to say it's been on the ground for 40 miles, but the shear tracker shows us that it has been a concern for at least a little time. Right now where we're watching, so this is Route 28A. We have Route 121, Auburn. Let me recenter this so we can see some of the towns here. So there would be the couplet. This is what we would be watching for. Route 93, this is passed over 93, now going towards Auburn. And eventually it is going to be heading towards Raymond if this were to hold together. And all signs pointing to this holding together. I don't see anything that is showing me that the rotation that is being noted is weakening at all. It's certainly pulsing, some stronger signs than others. At the very least, some pretty gusty wind moving into the Auburn area as we speak. So if we were to trace this out, North Chester in the next 7 minutes or so, Onway Lake in the next 15 minutes, and eventually towards Raymond and Fremont. Let's hope that this weakens. At the moment, I have not. It looks like the National Weather Service, as we mentioned, they're trying to release people out of that tornado warning. The good news is parts of Manchester, I'm going to zoom out and show you, at least that 293 section of Manchester has been trimmed away. So the threat has passed. If you are in Manchester, near Route 3, near Route 293, that threat has passed. Still though, if you are near Auburn, if you are near North Chester, eventually towards Raymond and Fremont, we want you to be in that tornado safe place, as this is a storm. Alyssa, I venture to say that they're probably going to continue this tornado warning.
I would be surprised if they didn't, but then again, this last, as you say, it's really a storm that continues to pulse up and down a bit, because just as it looks like it's starting to slow down, we get this new velocity scan as we have right now that shows some wind strengthening once again. So the good thing is, again, we are still continuing to check our debris tracker, seeing if anything looks like it's being lofted into the air, at least as best as we can tell with radar. It doesn't look to be, so that is something that's at least a promising sign. But we're going to continue to monitor the National Weather Service office in Gray, Maine. It looks like we did just get. It says they continued. Oh, so this is them. They did trim back, I guess, the warning behind Manchester. So we'll see. There's only a few more minutes left of this warning, but it doesn't look like it's showing much signs of slowing down just yet.
So Alyssa, you mentioned the debris tracker. I have talked about this before, so forgive me if you have been watching us from start to finish, but the debris tracker technology is something that came about over the last 10 to 15 years. And what this essentially does is we have a radar beam that is able to shoot into storms, and this is what it returns. It sends us information on things that are similar, a signal of similar things in the clouds, or things that perhaps aren't similar, which could be debris being lofted into the air. I am noticing a little bit of a debris signature showing up near Auburn. This isn't super clear, so hopefully it's nothing. But over the last couple of scans, notice that discoloration right there. And then if we were to go forward a little bit, perhaps right there too. Not sold that that's exactly what I'm seeing, but we would look for these brighter colors co-located with where the rotation is being noted. And the latest scans may have kind of dissipated that. So hopefully that was just me being overly concerned. Still a signature of some strong winds at the very least. There isn't that maybe tight couplet, but a lot of wind going away from the Boston radar, a lot of wind going towards the Boston radar there. So we'll watch to see, but Auburn, I want you to be in your tornado safe place. I'm going to draw that tracker on once again. Raymond, Fremont, you guys have 15, 20 minutes. Onway Lake, North Chester, you have about 5 minutes. Tornado safe place, that is going to be the lowest level of your home. Hopefully that is the basement, but if you don't have a basement, we want you to be in a closet or a bathroom. We have this tornado safety graphic that we'll show you, but basically the lowest level of your house is the place to be. Try to find an interior place like a hallway, a closet, or a bathroom. Try to put as many walls, outside walls, between you and the storm as possible. And if you're able to, grab a blanket, grab a pillow, grab a kid's bike helmet, head to the basement, head to your tornado safe place just for your safety. That is the latest on where you need to go for that tornado safety. Let's hop back to the storm and see what we're working with here. We still have the tornado warning out for Hartford County, Connecticut. That goes until 6:30, and then this storm near Manchester, although Manchester in the latest scans, in the latest update, did get pulled, at least part of Manchester pulled out of the warning. So again, the National Weather Service releasing areas as the threat passes as they need to. Still a concerning sign.
Jacob, to the south, I don't know if you were just on the Hartford cell, but the National Weather Service for Boston did just extend a severe thunderstorm warning ahead of the tornado warning that we've been watching near Hartford. So ahead of that, we've still got about close to an hour on the tornado or the severe thunderstorm warning ahead of that tornado warning.
That's good. So they're trying to get the word out that there is some severe weather moving in the direction. We call that the quiet corner of Connecticut, that eastern side, that northeastern side of Connecticut. Not going to be so quiet this evening. This is that storm. moving out of Manchester, moving towards Auburn, or now just passing to the east of Auburn. Here's Route 121, moving to the north of Route 102. And we also have some really busy corridors in this area. Still concerning signs, moving almost due east at 40 to 50 miles per hour. So this is now updating 55 miles per hour. It is screaming along. Some areas impacted by this: Chester, Auburn, Deerfield, Sandown. This includes, it does not include Raymond, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, this is set to expire in 3 minutes. And it wouldn't surprise me if Gray Main extends this into even the seacoast. Let me zoom out and see how close we are to the seacoast here. We still have a ways to go.
Looks like it's about 20 miles from the core.
Yeah, so we still got a ways to go, but it wouldn't surprise me in the next 1 or 2 minutes if they were to extend this, just simply based on the history of this. Alyssa, are you monitoring social media as well? Alyssa, anything from the storm?
I will certainly check in on the social media,
Okay.
but when you mentioned the history of this cell, what's interesting about that is, yes, it is set to expire right now in the next 2 minutes. So we hope that happens and this just continues to weaken. However, right now, I just was looking at some of the wind speeds within the velocity scan, and it does seem like it's weakening a bit. So the gate-to-gate shear, what we look at, when you see the red and you see the green right next to each other, this red and green, we can measure those wind speeds and you add them together, and that would total the gate-to-gate shear, what we're looking at, and it does seem to be slowing down in some of our scans, and then it pulses right back up. So we're going to keep monitoring chat because this would be technically released in the next 2 minutes. They have not updated to say that they want to extend it quite yet, but they have already extended it once before, so certainly wouldn't be surprised, as you said, if they extend that again.
Absolutely. So I think regardless of if this is a tornado-warned storm or not, we have to respect the polygon, the
Right.
potential of it doing damage, and each and every scan that we have still shows, so at the very least, damaging wind. And
Exactly.
looks like they extended this with a severe thunderstorm warning.
Okay.
Let's see here, with a tornado possible tag. So I'm going to zoom out and just show you how big this severe thunderstorm warning is.
And I'm thinking, hopefully that makes sense for where we're at right now, seeing those scans slowing down a little bit, because as you mentioned, it looked like it might be pulsing up and then it slows back down. So luckily, this is a better sign that it could be slowing down overall. But like you said, damaging wind is still going to be a main concern with these storms through the rest of the evening.
Yeah, so let me put a tracker on this and show you how fast this is going and some of the areas that would be impacted. So in the next 40 minutes or so, let's say 30 minutes or so, this potentially is in Portsmouth because it is moving at 55 miles per hour. Raymond, it is knocking on your doorstep at the moment. So what you just saw is the tornado warning being dropped at 6:15. The National Weather Service has instead decided to issue a severe thunderstorm warning in lieu of that tornado warning. As Alyssa said, sort of pulsing a little bit, but they have noted a tornado possible, still some rotation within the storm. So we're going to still respect the storm, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for quite a few locations. As I mentioned, Raymond, it is in your area in the next 5 minutes or so, eventually 6:45, 6:40 near Portsmouth, and York arriving towards you by 6:50. I'm going to show you what we're watching at the moment. Also, I'll zoom over to this in just a sec, but the National Weather Service out of Boston has dropped the tornado warning for Hartford County or near the Hartford area, as they noted some weakening too. All right, so let's zoom in and see this storm. There's still quite a bit of wind in it. We're not getting a great sort of X-ray view of this storm, but there's still plenty of wind. So let's go ahead and respect this for, at the very least, some damaging wind threat. Moving towards Raymond, moving towards Fremont, eventually just to the north of Chester, but eventually towards Epping, Brentwood. Notice that bright blue color there. I'm going to take a look at our hail potential here, because hail is certainly a concern with some of these storms. What happens is raindrops, they get lofted high up in the atmosphere, and they develop into ice cubes, basically, and each time they make a cycle, we can get bigger and bigger hail. There has been some good hail signatures, but over the last couple of scans, maybe not as big. So once again, a good sign that this storm perhaps is weakening a little bit. So again, this is a severe thunderstormed warned storm. It is tagged with a tornado possible. This is a storm that has previously been tagged with a tornado warning. At the moment, a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15, including Rockingham County, Stratford County, and eventually York County, Maine. We'll watch this very closely. Alyssa, are you seeing anything
Actually,
of note?
yeah, so the cell we were watching, the tornado warning there near Hartford, National Weather Service seems to be saying what we've been looking at is that, hey, it's been pulsing up and down, but the good news is they did allow that tornado warning to expire. That said, this severe thunderstorm warning that's currently out is tornado tagged. So that means we're saying, we could still see some spin up, not out of the question. As for right now, though, we are not in any active tornado warnings locally.
Absolutely, Alyssa. Appreciate that update. So I'm going to zoom out and just give everyone a quick update as to where we stand at the moment. We do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in our neighborhood. Generally speaking, in New England, we have one exiting Manchester, moving towards the coastline. Included in that is Portsmouth. So if you live near Interstate 95 or near the Portsmouth area, Stratford County, Rockingham counties, and eventually into York County, Maine. This is a severe thunderstorm that we're going to be watching closely as it has had a history of rotation. Additionally, we have this storm that is moving through Hartford County, Connecticut into Tolland County, Connecticut, sort of riding right along Interstate 84. And if this were to hold together, this would eventually, notice sort of the shape of the polygon, perhaps move into northern Rhode Island and eventually into southern Worcester County, Middlesex County, or Norfolk counties. We're going to be watching all of these. I'm here with Alyssa through this evening. We're going to be tracking these storms, and we'll have an update on these storms in 12 minutes or if another tornado warning is issued. For now, we'll return you to your regularly scheduled program.